Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to the Saucony stand. It's just past midday. Of course, this time tomorrow, if you're super quick, you may well have finished, but many of you will be entering the final third of the race, and we'll be wishing you good luck. My name's Nick Anderson, I'm a Saucony running coach, and I'm joined by Nick Morgan from A Word on Nutrition, a sports scientist, and I'm also joined by the lovely Phoebe Thomas, running coach, actress and personal trainer, and we're going to give you some last minute top tips towards your race tomorrow. Now I'm going to ask Phoebe first of all. Here we are, we're at the expo, people are walking around, less than 24 hours to go. What sort of things should they be doing and also thinking about today?
Stop walking round. No, actually, don't stay here for too long. That is actually a serious comment. I don't want your legs to be knackered for tomorrow. So enjoy the bargains that are here to be had, and enjoy having a quick look around. But importantly, I'll be advising you to get off your feet and rest so that you're nice and fresh for tomorrow. Some of you may have already done a 20-minute light jog, which I would definitely recommend. I would be saying to maybe do kind of 15 minutes very, very easy, and then 5 minutes at your marathon pace, just to turn your legs over and remind your body that it can run. The taper can often leave us feeling a little bit stale and worried that there's no running left in the legs. So doing a very, very gentle 20-minute jog is a great thing to do today. And then aside from that, I would actually be thinking about all the positive training I've done and everything that's in the bank, and building up a positive mindset so that you're in a good place to step up to that start line tomorrow morning.
Now, of course, fueling's really, really important. Nick, you're a top nutritionist. What sort of things could the guys be doing today to get ready for tomorrow?
I think the key thing for today is to follow what you've probably heard about, which is something called carbohydrate loading. So what you will need tomorrow throughout the race is some energy, and you want your muscles topped up to the maximum levels that they can be, and you'll really need carbohydrate to do that. Now, interestingly, most of you will probably be thinking that tonight you'll go for one of the biggest meals that you've ever eaten in your entire life, with a big bowl of pasta. You might put a little bit of meat on there, you probably get a loaf of bread on the left, a couple of bananas on the right, and you sit there, and all of a sudden carbohydrate loading becomes almost a chore, and it becomes quite difficult. You become a little bit lethargic, a little bit almost thinking that it doesn't work for you. In essence, carbohydrate loading does work, and we know that the people who do it well will run better tomorrow. You've got plenty of time now, between now and the end of today, to actually graze more as opposed to one big meal. So if you can think about eating now gradually throughout the day, picking a little bit more carbohydrate as you go through the day in snacks. It can be fluids, it could be smoothies, it could be smaller meals. If you do that, you'll actually be far better at increasing the carbohydrate in your muscles. You'll feel more comfortable, and I genuinely think you'll see the benefits tomorrow. So I guess in a nutshell, it's avoiding one massive meal tonight where you're elbowing people out the way, but take the time now probably to have some sort of food or sustenance every 2 to 3 hours between now and the time that you actually go to bed.
Now, Phoebe, yesterday when we were chatting to people, there was a level of calm in the room here, but it's up a little bit now. We're starting to get a little bit twitchy, maybe a little bit worried about tomorrow. Are these guys going to sleep tonight, and does it matter?
In a nutshell, no, you probably won't sleep very well tonight. We're all going to be thinking about the marathon tomorrow. We'll be nervous, we'll be excited, we'll be replaying the various scenarios that could take place over the 26.2 miles. But it doesn't matter. Hopefully you slept well throughout the week. Last night's night's sleep is much more important than what happens tonight. Tonight, as long as you're lying down, you're relaxed, you're lying there in a state of organisation, having already got your race kit and everything sorted out, so you're not lying there panicking about anything, you will be fine. You will wake up tomorrow morning, the adrenaline will kick in, and the body really won't mind whether you've had a few less hours sleep than you normally do the night before a long run.
Phoebe, thank you. Now, Nick, tomorrow morning, last opportunity to fuel up. What would you be suggesting to people in terms of breakfast, not the last supper, as it were, but because everyone's going to come back, but the point here is how can they get it right on that final sort of fueling occasion?
Well, you will all definitely survive tomorrow, so it won't be the last supper, but it certainly will be a very important meal for you in the morning. The key thing is actually I'm not probably going to throw out the ideal breakfast, because if you went away and then decided to choose that and it's not something you've actually eaten before in front of some of your longer runs, then it would probably be the wrong thing to do. So the ideal breakfast is to repeat the types of breakfast that you've been having in the lead up to either some races, half marathons, or as those long runs that you've been progressing over the last 6 to 2, 3, 4 months, or however long you've been training for the marathon. So that's the key thing. But also, just to re-emphasize the point I made about carbohydrate loading today, you don't need to sit behind a table, get your knife and fork out, spoon, and eat it all in one go. The reality is you'll have a little bit of nervous energy, which is a good thing. Wake up, grab some food, then go for a shower. Come back, grab some more toast, maybe a banana, check your bag for the umpteenth time, come back, then grab something else. So almost spread the breakfast out, and I think you can have breakfast from the moment that you wake up until around about 60 minutes before the event starts, because I think for the last 60 minutes it's probably better to come off foods and just emphasize more either fluids or gels if you want to have any last minute energy. But the breakfast should be foods that you're comfortable with, that you've practiced with, and again, you can spread that out over a little bit of time from the moment that you wake up, because it's the one time that you will probably be up maybe 3 to 4 hours before the event actually starts.
Nick, thank you. Now, Phoebe, tomorrow morning, just before the race and then when the gun goes, what kind of things are going through the mind here, and what strategies do we need to have in place to prevent chaos?
It will be slightly chaotic on the start line, and you'll be surrounded by lots and lots of positive people. You may be surrounded by a few negative people as well that will be telling you they've done this before and it's a nightmare, and they hit the wall and they've got an Achilles issue and isn't the world a terrible place. You have to put yourself in your own bubble on the start line, you really do. Stand there confident that you have a plan. I would hope that everyone has an idea of the pace they want to be running at tomorrow. So some people may be chasing a PB, they may want to be breaking 4 hours or 4:30 or even breaking something like 3 hours, which is fabulous. Others are looking to get round. It's your first marathon, it's time on feet, you want to enjoy the day. Whatever your strategy is, make sure you have it in place. So if you're planning on walking, I would definitely suggest that you stand there on that start line knowing what the chunks of running you're going to do are and what the chunks of walking are. Have a strategy. Equally, if you're looking to break sub 3:30 and you know you want to be running at 8-minute miling, personally I would have my 5k splits written up my arm, so I'm not just relying on a watch or a pacer or a GPS. Be in control of your event. So have your 5k splits written on your arm and ease into that race. We just heard Mike Grattan, London Marathon winner, speaking, who's run 2:09 for the marathon, and he really did emphasise that you must ease into that race. The most clever marathons are run as negative splits, with that last half being slightly faster than that first half. It's very, very tempting to just go off all guns blazing and suddenly think you're Paula Radcliffe or Mo Farah, but the reality is it's the excitement and the adrenaline kicking in. So if you're a little bit slower than your target marathon pace in those early miles, it's absolutely fine. Avoid weaving in and out of people to try and get on pace. Just accept that you're going to be slightly slower, because you need to get to 20 miles feeling great and then able to push on, and you will make up that time in the last 6 miles. If you can get to 20 and then start overtaking people, you're going to have a really fabulous day tomorrow.
Phoebe, very comprehensive, thank you. Now, Nick, we heard Mike say that he won London off no fuel and no water in the race, but he said the big thing that would change these days is that yes, he would take on sports drink because it's available, and he would take on gels because it's available, and that's been the big improvement in the sport. What would be the sort of strategies that these guys could use tomorrow to help them fuel on the way round?
Yeah, I love those anecdotes of people that won marathons on 2:09 and didn't consume anything, because they really helped me get a message across of the importance of fluid, carbohydrate, gels, bars and jelly beans and all the rest of it. I would add it was 2:09, so that's distinctly quicker than let's say the average pace of what it will be tomorrow. So energy will be very important to you, so that's in the form of carbohydrate, ultimately very simple sugars, and that's what you find on the course. You've got Gatorade available at 4 stations, I think it's 5, 12, 19 and 24 miles, and you've got Cliff providing the shot blocks and the gels at, I think it's 15 and 21, I'm pretty certain of that. So that energy is available. The key thing for me is energy needs to start actually from the beginning of the race, so don't make the mistake that you start to have energy when you feel tired, because of course it's very difficult to claw that back. So the reality is you should have a strategy from the beginning of the race right through to the end. And I think that's based around breaking your marathon into 60-minute segments and trying to get in, for want of not using too many numbers, let's say 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate, which in a nutshell is around one 500 milliliter bottle of Gatorade plus one gel per hour. Now some of you might say I use 2 gels, and to which case I'd say brilliant, because almost a little bit more the better. But the key thing is I'm kind of looking around and going, I'm hoping there's some nods around. I have a strategy, I know what I'm doing, because whatever it is, brilliant, like this guy, he's nodding, stick to it, because that's really what your default setting is now. And then what is on course is almost plan B as well, because if you get into some trouble, then having the products on course will make a big difference for you. But from an energy point of view, that's where I would be. Of course, hydration, we don't want to overlook that. It's important to drink little and often, drink according to thirst, but also stay sensible. It's not a case of nailing a bit of water at every single station, because you can get into situations where you can drink too much. I think for most people, if they drink according to thirst, and then with a little bit of prudency on top of that, so you don't go too many miles without consuming some fluid, I generally think you'll be in a good place. If it's a little bit hotter, you'll probably naturally drink a little bit more. But I think in many instances you should be okay. And again, practice what you've actually done on the longer runs.
Fantastic, Nick. Now, Phoebe, a final top tip from you tomorrow. It can be about anything. We'd rather it was about marathon running, but you know, how are we going to get these guys round? What's your final tip?
There will be tough miles, that's inevitable in a marathon. So I would suggest that all of you have one thing that you're going to say to yourself when you hit one of those tough miles. So it might be something physical. I always say to myself, up and light, up and light, up and light, and I keep repeating that. It might be that you concentrate on the cause for which you're running. There'll be lots of charity runners out there. Scope's the headline charity this year. You'll all have a special cause and a reason, a motivation for taking on this challenge. So whatever it is, choose something that every time you hit a tough mile or that negative gremlin jumps onto your shoulder, choose something that you're going to repeat to yourself to get you through it.
Nick, your final top tip?
Ultimately, it's just don't do anything focused, keep it simple, and if you repeat what you've actually practiced, then in theory you should get through the marathon feeling very comfortable. I think it's very easy to hear those little things that other people say, and I do this and I've done that, and someone's carrying a war belt of gels around them. You've seen all that stuff through races. Just ignore that. Honestly, what you'll have done will be working great. You all look very fit and healthy and ready to go, so therefore I have confidence that if you stick to that, you'll be just great. So good luck.
My final top tip to you is actually in 2 parts. Part 1 is, as Phoebe mentioned earlier, please remember the best long run you've done over the last 12 weeks and how that felt. Not the bad ones, the one that felt good. Remember the best training session you did, the one when you went out the front door and you felt like you could have just run for longer. It could have gone on for more. We've all had them. Remember that one. That wasn't a fluke. That's been banked. It's in there. That is really how fit you are. Okay? And then the final tip I've got for you is round the corner, 2 pairs of shoes for the price of 1 with Saucony. And thank you ever so much for listening, and we wish you all the best of luck tomorrow. Thank you, guys.